What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for thelines.com. It is Monday Night Football. Cowboys and the Chargers should be a very, very good game. Two teams that we think probably will be around towards the end when it's all said and done. So looking forward to this one tonight on Monday night. As always, everything we do absolutely free. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up and then let us know in the comment section what you're doing here in this one. It is 1.5 in favor of the Cowboys on the road. 50.5 to 51 seems to be where you can be getting this total at the time of this recording. So 1.5 in favor of the Cowboys, who have been really, in my opinion, kind of disappointing so far this season. I think this was a team in which I maybe had a little bit higher expectations on than most. And I think we're getting to a point where maybe I need to adjust my thinking just a tad on this team, mainly because of the offensive side of the ball, in which they are not really able to figure things out once they get out from between the 20s. And so, you would like to think that there would be some real changes that could be made easily in order to score more points and get something done in the red zone. But I just don't know if I have an incredible amount of confidence in not only the play calling getting a massive overhaul whenever they get down there, but also just the execution from an execution standpoint. Dak Prescott has just not been impressive and not been able to really get anything going whatsoever whenever they get down into, kind of a scoring area. And I'll scroll down here for you guys to kind of read this preview a little bit more. So pretty interesting for me from a Cowboys perspective. On the injury side of things, Leighton Vander Esch out for the Cowboys. Of course, a big contributor for them on the defensive side of the ball. Over on the Chargers side, actually did get in a limited practice on Saturday, but does not look like Joey Bosa is going to be able to go for the Chargers. So not great for them on the defensive side. But on the offensive side, Justin Herbert, despite that finger on his non-throwing hand, was not listed at all on the injury report. And then they're going to get Austin Eckler back for the first time since week 1. And we know what Austin Eckler can mean for this offense for the Chargers. So let's try and figure out where is this game going to play, right? And I think this game is kind of a strength-on-strength type deal, and it's going to be the Dallas defense versus the Chargers offense is where this is all really going to go down. I'm not as worried about the matchup between the Cowboy offense and the Charger defense. I think the Cowboys will get theirs enough. But again, I'm not looking at this Cowboys offense near the way that I was looking at them heading into this season. And so I'm not really focused incredibly much on that. I'm trying to figure out what type of success are the Chargers going to have against this Cowboys defense. And so you go and you look at the Cowboys defense, and it is a good defense. There's no doubt about it. But if you look, kind of dig a little bit deeper, they're like league average in pressure rate, with they're 16th right now in pressure rate. And I think that it's much, much higher because it's always Micah Parsons that's doing it. But the thing is, it's always him. There's nobody else that's actually doing anything on that side of the ball when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback. So it seems like, because we're calling the same name over and over again, that it feels like it's much more than it actually is. But they're 16th in the NFL. So they're kind of league average when it comes to pressure rate out there. And then if you take a look also, you can actually kind of get ahead of the chains here from a rushing standpoint against this Dallas defense. They're 31st in the NFL in rushing defense from a success rate standpoint. And so they're always getting the requisite yardage on either first, second, or third down from a rushing success rate standpoint against this defense. And so now you get Eckler back in there, which this Chargers offense has been really efficient anyway without Eckler, and now you get Eckler back in there, and it should, if anything, help this team out a ton more. Now, what I will say, they've been really good against the pass, but you got to also kind of take into consideration game states, and you've also got to take into consideration that some of that was with Trayvon Diggs, and he's not out there anymore, right? So Trayvon Diggs is gone for the season for the Dallas, and I think this defense really has a different makeup with him not out there, right? I mean, he's kind of the ball hawking turnover machine. Yeah, every now and then he would get beat trying to be a little too greedy on plays, but he really did change the dynamic of what this defense brings to the table. And so if you can't kind of tell, I'm leaning towards the Chargers pretty heavy in this one, coming out of a bye in which they've had 2 weeks to focus on Dallas. They've had a couple of weeks to really dig into what Dallas does and how they might be able to attack this team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not really going to bring up the whole Kellen Moore familiarity thing with Dallas. I don't think that, Dallas is smart enough to make enough changes to where that doesn't look the same. And then the same on the other side where Kellen Moore's not going to be running plays or making calls or anything that looks similar to stuff that was going on whenever he was in Dallas. So I'm not really too much into that. I know a lot of people are going to make a big deal out of that, but listen, it's 2023 in the NFL. These dudes know how to get around all this stuff. So I'm not worried about that at all. But like I said, the Chargers offense has been really, really efficient. If you look at the stats for them so far this year, offensive EPA, they're 5th overall in the NFL with a 5th ranked success rate from a pass offense standpoint and 12th ranked from a rush offense standpoint. And that's even with Eckler not being out there for a lot of time. And so now you get Eckler back, a much more efficient runner than Kelly. Kelly was just kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust type deal. And so I expect what are already good offensive numbers to get even better with this team at full health. When I say at full health, yes, I realize that Mike Williams is out for the season, but this is yet another week for them to get Palmer more worked in, yet another week for them to get Quentin Johnston more worked in. I know they were going to try and ease him more into this lineup as the season went on, but that's just not going to be the case. They've got to get more out of him. They spent a first-round pick on him, and so I think the bye week, if anything, really does help him get more ingrained into this offense, and maybe we see some more stuff heading his way. That said, from a prop standpoint, not willing to take that gamble quite yet until I see it with my own eyes. So not going to put anything in the account for Quentin Johnston. But I do think that there's also a chance that we see the Cowboys take advantage of the rush defense for the Chargers as well, which is why whenever we look at this total at 51, while it's not in my account, the only way I could play this would be under. If you look, the Cowboys play at a pretty slow situation neutral pace as it is anyway. They're 25th overall in the NFL when it comes to situation neutral pace. Now the Chargers play a little bit faster, but then what you're basically doing is combining a slow team with a fast team, and now we just kind of have middling pace in this one. And so if I also believe that the Cowboys' most likely path to continued success would be to run the ball against the Chargers, and if I also believe that the Chargers can have rushing success, we know they'll at least keep the clock rolling a little bit more than typical. We also have seen the Chargers while the passing efficiency has been very, very high, it hasn't been because the targets have been way down the field. We thought that maybe Kellen Moore would come in and really blow this offense up, throwing the ball all over the place, throwing it way downfield, and that just hasn't been the case. It's been a very good offensive game plan. It just has not been one that's been lighting it up by throwing the ball way far down the field. And so they're high percentage targets for Herbert, who's been super, super efficient hitting these guys really close to the line of scrimmage and stuff. And so with that, also that kind of leans to keeping the clock rolling as well. So again, it'd be under or pass for me in this. Not quite in the account yet, but we sometimes see these totals get bet up in these standalone games. And if that's the case, then you could see me come in on the under as well. I am going to have a small 1.5 ticket with a sprinkle on the money line as well from with the Chargers in this one. If you head over to the homepage here, you can see you click this player prop tool. And when you do that, I am looking at one player that I think could be pretty interesting here, mainly because I think he's being a little bit undervalued. And that's Gallup. And you can see we can get over 35.5 receiving yards for Gallup. He started off the season really slow, only 2 targets in the first 2 games. But since then, over the last 3 games, he's gotten 18 targets over the last 3 games for this team. And so if you look at how they're priced, right, and rightfully so, CeeDee Lamb is certainly the number 1 wide receiver here. But if you look, you can see his props all the way up at 70, 71 type yards. You can see as market high of 75 yards. Whereas with Gallup, we're getting a big time discount. And if you look at Gallup, one of the things that I will say over this, over the time where he's starting to get more targets here, he's running routes on 80% of the dropbacks as it is anyway. So he's out on the field, he's out running routes, which is something we want. And then also the average depth of target is nearly 11 yards down the field. And so we don't need a ton, from Gallup to get over the 35.5 yards here. So do like Gallup over 35.5 receiving yards with all of this. I was tempted to play some Pollard because if you look, I mean, like I said, I do believe that the most likely path to victory for this Cowboys team is to keep the ball on the ground. If you take a look at where this Charger defense ranks when it comes to the rushing side of things, while the EPA is league average at 16th, the success rate's 28th against them. DVOA has them 28th against the run as well. So I do think that there is a chance for the run game to get some decent to get some decent stuff. So maybe from a same game parlay standpoint, if you just want to, I don't have the full confidence to put it in right now, but I do think you can make it a piece of maybe something different, maybe something a little bit bigger from a Pollard over standpoint, or at least an alt over on Pollard. And if you want to get some bang for your buck, if you think that, no, that's definitely the way to go, I would almost play an alt number on Pollard as opposed to the 65. I'd play like a 70, 75, something like that, and just get me a nice plus money number to take with Pollard if you do believe that Dallas is going to keep this thing rocking and rolling on the ground. But not a ton in this one, guys. It's more of an evaluation game, really, because these are two teams, like I said, that I think they're going to be there towards the end. Certainly want to consider what Dallas brings to the table against a good offense from a defensive standpoint, and what the Chargers can do against a team that should be pretty well-rounded and good as well. So cupcake schedule for Dallas so far is a big step up. You can also see Mo's article over here on an anytime touchdown if you want to. So be sure and take a look at that. You see he's on Parham and also Justin Herbert there for some anytime touchdowns. Read that article over at thelines.com as well. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel, give us a thumbs up, and then let us know how you are going to be playing Monday Night Football. Guys, good luck on all your bets.